Hey friends, Pastor Michael from Organic Church, here with Sydney Erickson, Don Reed, Beth Jarvis, Nick Offolter, and Pastor Roger Deerdorf.
Dropped 20 degrees from when I left work to
now or before you got here?
Like it was like at 5
It had dropped
o'clock.
12 degrees by the time I had picked up Finn from school at 3 o'clock to 5:30 when I left. It had dropped 12 degrees, and I'm like,
it went from
for me,
62 to 42.
Yes, that wind.
My electricity was, I think it flickered 5 times.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We noticed ours was must have gone off at some point.
Yeah. Like
Mine
was something blinking, like your light or something?
Yeah.
Well, mine might be off. Who knows?
You have electricity, Roger?
Yeah.
Huh.
The water,
Michael said you did everything by candlelight.
the water wheel.
Watermill. Yeah.
The oil lamps.
Hey, I got 3 of them.
I know. My mom always had
When
hers.
when we first moved out there, it was I would say at least twice a month, sometimes more. I mean, the wind would blow, and
That's it.
Yes.
broken tree branch or something, fall on the power line going through the woods. Okay. So then I had a generator. Well, when we were, it's been a few years ago when the power was off for like 3 or 4 days.
Mm-hmm.
My wife said, well, we got to get, so she buys this generator. It worked for a while, but it just kind of died. Yeah. So the power went out again. Well, no, it didn't go out. So I said, we're getting a good generator. So we got a good generator. Now, I can actually run the electric stove too.
Oh, nice.
But yeah. But now the power doesn't, they actually were taking care of things. And
Yeah. Finally.
finally, after 20 years.
No, it's funny. Go ahead.
But the power, it still goes off once in a great while. I'm assuming it's probably a squirrel or something that gets on the line and jumps and didn't quite make it, and his tail hit the other one.
Whenever it was flickering, or it went out for a few seconds after it flickered, and I was walking around because Chase was going to come home in like an hour, so I just lit the candles because he does that a lot for me. Like when I'm coming home from like this or something, it's just nice to walk home or walk into the house smelling good and stuff. So I was walking around lighting them, and then it like turns off. I'm like, that's just funny. I'm like, well, I'm already prepared. I think I was like lighting my last one when it was like, boom, it shut down. But it came back on about 5 seconds later.
Yeah.
So
ours, if it flickers and it goes out, it's out.
It's out.
Yeah. It's out.
Well, I haven't been home yet to see if mine went out, but if so, the microwave will be out, the stove clock will be out, the coffee pot clock will be out.
When it comes back
that
on,
clock.
it's blinking.
Blinking. Yep. Yeah. All right. Well, the topic is, who is one person you think God put into your life for a reason?
You can read that from clear over there.
Yeah, but not really, because I was like,
All those cords.
yeah, and my microphone.
All those cables.
Michael's microphone. Oh, yeah, Michael is not here.
Again.
He missed us last week.
Slacker.
And Beth.
Yeah, I think at this point, we're going to have to fire them both.
Yeah. There you go.
We can start getting there instead of... Yeah. Hopefully Beth's feeling better with the shot.
Yes, hopefully.
And hopefully Michael's moved in by now, because it's taken weeks.
Well, he had a scare there, didn't he?
Yeah.
A little bit. He did.
Yeah.
He did.
So, but it all worked out.
Yeah.
So.
He had a plan. He was telling us the plan, like, I'm going to have people here doing this and this and then this.
I don't know how that's going to work. How it's going to work out.
How's
for me.
anything getting done, Roger? You're here.
Yeah.
The only thing I have to do is move the lawnmower. That's it. Get
Not
my
bad.
trailer
Because you got a trailer.
and move the lawnmower.
Hey.
That's all I got to do.
Yeah.
Well, Supposedly.
Yeah, you'll get there with
knows?
the lawnmower.
Who
No, since Roger's here.
Who knows what else he'll have me do? Yeah, well, we'll put this bed together, and then we'll do this, and So it'll be a all day thing.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe 2 days. Who knows? Depends on how much he's got together.
Yeah.
But no, I don't mind. He puts up with a lot from me. But I put up with a whole lot from him.
We all see it, Roger. We all see it.
We do.
Yeah. I mean, how many times did you get heckled Sunday morning? I mean, the sermon's only 45 minutes. And I think he heckled you at least 5 or 6 times.
40 of the 45 minutes?
40 of the 45 minutes.
Hey, he has to have somebody to lean on.
Right.
That's true.
Yeah. I think people hurt the ones they love the most. Michael.
Well, he must really love me.
Right? What was my mom
Just
always said?
kidding.
Well, if they're talking about me, then
Yep.
leave somebody else alone for a moment.
Yep.
No.
All right. So is that your one person?
Yeah.
Roger.
Oh, I don't know. I guess. Yeah. But that could work both ways, though.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly. Do you want to elaborate?
And I think it does.
I do too. Yeah.
Because he leans on me a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
He might not.
He might not admit to it.
No.
Yeah.
But
And I think he would. I think he'd admit to it too.
Yes.
If he was sitting here.
As he would call you, a legacy member.
I'm just old.
He wants he wants your knowledge.
I feel like old, that should be an acronym for like
Legacy?
something legacy department. Original legacy department.
There.
You're welcome.
I'm glad Beth isn't there. She'd have something
She'd
smart
chime
to say.
in. She's quick. She's quick. She's witty.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know.
I
used to like her.
young. I'm not anymore.
You used to like her and then you got to know her. Just kidding.
You're not here to defend yourself. Beth,
Yeah.
But
Well, that's the only reason I can say it now. 'Cause I'm afraid she'd hit me.
He's like,
throw something at you.
he's looking at the chair like she's going to hit him down. He's not even here.
I'm waiting for her spirit to jump over here and start pounding knots on my head. Nah, I don't know. Let's have somebody else, and I'll think about it.
Yeah. Well, and I think when you were saying that, like, you've kind of leaned on him a little bit the past few weeks. Like, he was taking you to some different appointments that you have going on. And that's,
Oh yeah,
it's kind of mutual, which is nice. But
it's fun too.
yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, he actually says in church sometimes, that we kind of argue.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we do.
Yeah.
I mean, because sometimes what he wants to do is not really
Logical.
what should
feasible.
what
Right.
Yes.
or the way
Yes.
it should be done.
Uh-huh.
And I said, but he's always in a hurry.
Right.
And that's just him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I think too, when we're close with somebody, we're not afraid to tell them how
No,
we
for
feel.
sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Beth and I have known each other since the first grade.
Mm-hmm.
If we want somebody's true opinion, we're
You're
going to
gonna
ask
ask
each
them.
other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We might not like their opinion,
Right.
But you're going to ask.
but I know
Mhm.
it's coming from straight from her heart.
honest.
Exactly.
You know, whatever
No.
she's going to say to me is coming straight from her heart.
Yeah.
So
And that's what you asked her
that's
for
that's
to begin
exactly
with.
Right.
Mhm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We push each other for excellence.
Yep. Sometimes that's all somebody needs is that one person in their life that's willing to push them.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you don't ever have anybody pushing you,
Right.
you get lazy.
Yeah.
You know, you get self-centered.
Well, and almost like you don't have anyone, like if you're not, and it's easy not to hold yourself accountable.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're not going to hold yourself accountable, which I mean, a lot of people don't,
Right.
then you need someone else to. And I think, that is a perfect person.
And as long as you respect what they say.
Yes.
And not get mad or whatever. I mean, okay, well, and then, I guess maybe you would step back and think about what you wanted to do or what you said and think, well, maybe they're right.
Right.
Maybe that's really, I really shouldn't do that. Or really, I shouldn't have said that.
Yeah. And I think a lot of times we can get relationships with people that you find out that they don't have your best interest at heart.
Yes.
And so therefore, I think if you find yourself not growing, either in a relationship, if you don't find yourself growing or you don't feel that relationship growing, it's probably not. It's probably not a good relationship.
Right.
I came across a quote. It was an advice, something a few weeks ago, and I texted it to myself, and it said, "What you're not changing, you're choosing."
Oh, yes.
I'm like, wow. And it kind of just dawned on me when you said that, Nick.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one.
So,
Yeah. So, yeah, sometimes, because my wife's that way for me, she pushes me, and sometimes I don't like it. Because sometimes, I want to relax. But since the beginning of our relationship, it's like, for Margie, it's like, she could see the potential in me. And I was at the point in my life where I could not see the potential in myself anymore.
Yeah.
Like I was out of self-confidence, didn't believe in myself, didn't think I had that much to give. But she could see that, and she was willing to take that and be like, okay, you because I was in a job for like 15 years working for the same people who did not respect me, who did not value me. And she could see that and be like, you're not going to continue to do this. You are going to go out and find a better job.
Yeah.
If we're going to be in this relationship, you're going to go to the next level not because she's selfish or
not because
for her
she
own
wants
reasons, but
the
she's
money.
like,
yeah,
but she's like, you are capable of so much more, and you're more valuable than what these people give you credit for.
Respecting you, you deserved.
So, and it's not always fun being pushed. It's
No.
not, because it does require hard work. It requires you to get out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
All of those things. But that's sometimes when you're in the right relationship with
Now,
somebody.
I want to know, is she pushing you for your Gettysburg?
Well, I think she has
I feel like
she has supported me as much as she can.
I don't think
And
you need as much push for that.
I don't I'm fully convinced, though, at this point, our lives are just so busy.
Yeah.
Like life is so busy. I have very little time actually to sit down and study.
Yeah.
Because right now, all I'm concentrating on is my holiday lights. I got to have them up by next Thursday. And I was doing really well, but now I'm behind because just things have gotten away lately, and now the weather's kind of
The weather's kind of
yucky.
Yeah.
And so now I feel like I'm behind, and so I'm not studying, I'm not focusing.
Well, it's not staying daylight long enough for you to really get anything
Yeah,
done.
that too. Yeah, it's like when you get home, it's like, you got to hurry up and try to get something done.
You need to get a headlight and have Margie
Get the
out there with a
floodlights out.
flashlight and help you out.
So I'm fully convinced now that I'm not gonna go to the next step. That's just how I have it in my head. But I'm also like, it's okay. Like, it's okay if I don't pass it. To me, it's like, okay, God's not ready for me to
Just
do
not
it.
the time.
Right.
And I don't want to say that like, oh, that's a cop out, like that's an excuse, because I think like, well, I haven't studied. I probably won't be as sharp as I wanted to be going in. But at the same time, I just think, okay, I've been studying this all my life.
Yep.
And like you said, I don't really need much push from anybody to do it. So it's going to be what it's going to be. I imagine, I can think right now, there's no way I'm going to pass it. And I'm not going to have the answer to these questions.
Well, you see, you need to think positive, though.
Right. And I think, well, maybe once I get in there,
your mind
it'll just start clicking.
Yeah.
Like I'll realize just how much I do know.
Right.
Once I'm in the moment. But right now it's like, oh, there's going to be a lot of people more sharper than me. They probably studied every day. and and they're going to have the advantage.
Yeah, that's
which
kind of
could be true.
Yeah, but you don't know that until you're in there, and that's kind of how it was with my dental assisting when I went and got certified. Like, people say this will be on there and this will be on there. You don't know until you're in there.
Yeah.
And I just finally got to the point, like, I think it was 2 weeks out, and I'm like, you know what? I've been doing this for like 6 months, I think 6 to 8 months. And I'm like, if I don't know it by now, I'm not going to cram all this in. I just need to let go. I'll refresh and look at it maybe 10 minutes a night or something, but I'm not trying to cram any more in,
right?
Because what was I doing the first 6 to 8 months anyway?
Yeah.
And I know I was adequate, so I'm like, there's no need to. I think I'm on track, and I was fine. I passed it, but you can't hype yourself up so much.
Yeah.
Same when I went to take my state boards, the NCLEX exam. It's like I went to school with people who were cramming. They were constantly, and I'm like, that's not me.
Yeah.
I either know it
Exactly.
or I don't.
Yep.
I mean, we did quiz each other
Yeah.
the evening before.
Yeah.
A group of us went down together, but it's like,
If you don't know by then,
if I don't know
you're
it
not
right now,
going to.
I'm in trouble.
And logically, that's the way I think.
Yeah.
That's good.
If I, because I know there's a lot of well-known guides who, I want to say, flunked it 3 times, but they didn't move on to the next level until they took it for a 3rd time. And now these guys are like, they're at the top of the top.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think it's okay. Like
Yes.
if I take the test this first time and I don't pass it, at least I've been through the experience.
Yeah.
I'll know
You
kind
know
of
what
what to
to
expect. If there are any weak points in there somewhere,
Yeah.
Yes.
I know what to
You'll know.
focus
Right.
on. Because there's so much to focus on. That's
Oh,
the thing.
yeah.
There's just
Yeah.
so much, that they want you to know. And some of my interest in it aren't in those areas. So I may just have to realize, like, okay, yeah, you're going to just have to focus a little more on those things. But
Yeah.
But going back to Margie pushing me, it's not so much that she pushes me, but I don't think I would have even ever done it if she wasn't in my life, because if I was where I was before we were married, I'm like,
You wouldn't have even
there ain't no
realized
way
it.
I'm prepared, because
Yeah.
like I said, she has built me back up to have confidence in
yourself.
myself and get me back to, okay, I know who I am again.
Mhm.
So that's what our relationship has done for me, is that she's made me realize that, yeah, okay, I do have worth,
Yes.
I do have potential, and there should never be a point in my life where I'm satisfied with, like I said, working in a job for 15 years and, never hardly moving up in pay, no extra benefits, no nothing.
Now, I was going to ask with that, were you so just like in the rut doing the same thing that when she brought that to your attention, did you realize it too? Or were you like, you know what, you're right. I never even thought, hey, why don't I just go apply somewhere else? And
Oh, I was perfectly comfortable.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like I realized it, but I was so comfortable.
Yeah. And you're
why-
like, well,
why
I'm
change
paying my bills. I'm fine.
Why
Yeah.
change it?
I'm surviving.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm surviving. So you just
My belly's full. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just like, and maybe this is just the way life is.
Yeah.
That's
Which is easy to
easy to do.
get into that.
And like I said, you can get into relationships with people you think they love you or have your best interests at heart, but sometimes you need that certain person to push you
Right.
to the next level.
Yep.
And that's usually when you find out, oh, that's the person that really cares about me.
Mm-hmm.
Is somebody that's, because financially I was not doing well either. Like I just spent my money. It just it just kind of like Michael says, we go crazy. Like we're collecting this, collecting that,
Yes.
spending all our money, and she looked at my finances like, what are you doing? Like you're like, I know you're an intelligent guy. It's like, what are you doing with your finances? I'm like, I don't know. I'm just bored, so I spend my money. It's the only thing,
Like, what are finances?
what are finances? And that's another thing. You're like, well, why do I have to worry about that? Because I'm just going to be where I'm going to be. Like I'm comfortable, and and I just couldn't see some of the more important things,
Yes.
when it comes to finances and stuff, because I was in that rut.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And she was just like, you're going to have to get this together or this isn't going to work, and so she just gave me that, incentive to be like, okay, yeah, I gotta start thinking, more intelligently about what I'm doing. And it was
Long,
Just
and
bigger
like-
picture. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't mind saying, I don't know what my credit score maybe was at the time, but it was pretty low. It wasn't good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now it's like, I can get a credit card from anybody I want
Right.
to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I
Yeah.
mean, she's brought me clear up to the,
And that's work. That is
and it's
hard work.
because I didn't
Especially
like it
when
because
it's
I'm like, what do you
plummeted.
mean I can't bid on this on eBay? I don't have this. I need this. And she's like, you don't, need that.
it.
You really
You
don't.
might
know.
want it,
Mhm.
but you
And
don't
at the
need
same
it.
time, she's made sure that I do get some things that I want.
Yes.
You know, it wasn't a total like boycott. Like,
Right.
you know, you're never going to be able to
Right.
bid on eBay again. Or
Right.
so, but she just made me realize, like, okay, yeah, you got to
Yeah.
have moderation.
Yeah.
You gotta, you know.
Well, and I think with Roger saying, you got to look at the big picture. Like, I truly don't think young men look at it like that
I didn't.
because
No, don't.
Chase, I mean, I think it was like our first big fight, and it wasn't a fight. It was just an argument because he didn't understand.
I thought I was going to retire on my collectibles. That's what my mindset was. If I have this huge collection, they'll keep going up in value. Then when I'm ready to retire, I'll sell it all.
I mean, it's
and
not
I'll be, you know, I'll be
Yeah.
perfect. Where it's like, well, there's
so. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
but
you didn't
no.
have that drive to do that, though.
right,
You know,
right,
like you might have thought you did,
Yeah.
but
yeah,
Yeah.
But no, but you can't be. You can do that,
right.
But not
But you
with a credit score of
Correct.
400.
Yes. Yes.
You know, when
Yeah.
you're spending pretty much what you don't have.
Yeah.
You know, so you just got to, you can't.
Yeah.
But men are maybe not all men are that way, but
Well,
yeah.
and even like with the whole big picture thing, like I was just like with the house, I'm like, hey, I don't know, like, are you looking to be here forever? Because I was kind of looking at the projects, looking at the finances, like, what do we need to, how much do we need to save to get to this? And and it was not just brushing it off. Well, I don't know. I'll think, and I'm like, listen, buddy. And I'm normally a laid back person, but I'm like, but I'm a woman. I need to know. I have an end point in my head, like that. Everything else pretty laid back, but I need to know where's the train going. You know what I mean? And I mean, it took a while. And so we finally, okay, no, we don't want to be here forever. You know, maybe, and it was like 10 years, like, you know, that way we can kind of start our family there. But then once the kids are, you know, 5 to 7, then maybe move away, or not move away, but move out of that house. But I mean, it took a while for him to figure out, like, hey, let's just make a little plan. Because I think he was kind of in that rut, like just doing the mundane. So,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Yep.
Well, I think I have a few people that got
Yeah.
placed in my life. First and foremost, my parents.
Yeah,
You know, I wouldn't be who I was,
for sure.
who I am,
Mm-hmm.
had not, you know, and my mom was my best friend growing up. And I know people think, you know, your parents are your parents. They're not your friends. But my mom truly was, as I got older, my confidant. She was my person that I confided in. I wasn't afraid to go home and say something to her.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, she would give me all of her wisdom and her advice.
And not many people can say that, you know.
No. Yeah. You know,
Like-
I would go home and tell her anything, you know, like,
and again, she would sometimes give you the
the brutal truth.
most of the time.
know?
It was stuff you didn't like to hear.
Well, yes, because when I was 24, I wasn't a Christian yet.
Mhm.
Again, thinking though that I was a good person,
Mm-hmm.
but I was not a Christian, and I wasn't living my life the way that I should have.
Mm-hmm.
My significant other and I at the time got pregnant. I was 24, so it wasn't like I was in high school. I
Right.
wasn't in college. You know, I was done with school, but I was 24, and I had to go home and tell my parents I was pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
I was an adult,
Yeah.
but I had to go home and say to my mom, I'm pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she didn't turn her back on me. She didn't throw me out. She didn't tell me she didn't love me.
Yeah.
But I said, will you tell Dad? I didn't want to have to tell my dad, you know, because my dad and I didn't have the relationship that I had with my mom,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and I didn't want my dad to be disappointed
Yeah.
in me,
Yeah.
you know. But so first and foremost, my parents. And then if it weren't for my cousin Joni, when Joe and I got together, again, we met each other when we were teenagers. And then I went back to school and he went on with his life. And then we got back together when I was 23
Mhm.
after I graduated nursing school. So as nurses, we think we can fix people.
Mm-hmm.
We're trained to
Mm-hmm.
heal people.
I think
Fix
women in general think that, let
We're
alone
fixers.
women nurses.
Right.
Yes.
And I was a very emotional person, you know, and a forgiving person
Mhm.
and a tolerant person. All qualities that my mother taught me. But so then when Joe and I got together, I know God placed him in my life as well. We struggled a lot.
Mm-hmm.
We had lots of ups and downs. But you've got a nurse who wanted to be a mother,
Mm-hmm.
with someone who's a few years younger than I am. He's 3 years younger than me. So I was 24. He was 21 when we got pregnant. He was nowhere near ready to be out of his lifestyle. So, and then now we have a second child. So 2 years later, we have a second child. He is still living his lifestyle. He has an addictive personality. Alcohol was not his drug of choice. So, women and hard drugs were his drug of choice. And so here we are still trying to survive, trying to make our family work. I'm trying to have a dad for my kids, thinking that I can fix him.
Time out. Chase. So Chase is okay. One of Chase's family members has not been the closest to him in his life, but he kind of said, I cannot imagine coming home, because another significant other said, imagine coming home to this while you have 3 kids and then you're trying to deal with this, but then you also have another child.
Yes.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
I'm like, I think I would have went insane.
Yes.
But that's what I'm picturing right now with you, because you've got a 2-year-old plus you're pregnant.
Yes.
Okay, go
Yes.
on. Sorry.
So,
I just wanted to put that into perspective.
Yes.
Like,
and people used to say to me, does he work? And I'm like, yeah, he was a tree climber, the best in the area. They would say the best in the tri-state area. But he worked for local companies who would pay cash.
under the table.
Under the table. Some companies paid half cash, half drugs.
Oh.
Really?
Wow.
Wow. So he's getting enabled by even the people that he works for.
I never even
Wow.
heard that. Like,
His employer. So we would go for days and not see him
Yeah.
because now he's got a handful of money and he's got a pocket full of
Yep. Yep. Whatever it was
for the week. So here I am, trying to work. At points, I worked 3 jobs to make ends meet. If it weren't for my mom and dad, they babysat for me. So they kept my kids a lot. So I could work.
Yeah.
So growing up, the kids didn't see me a lot because I was working, trying to make ends meet because I was too proud to ask for assistance. I wouldn't live on the system. Never once did I get food stamps or Section 8 housing or anything like that. I was too proud. I'm certain I would have qualified.
Oh, yeah.
But I was too proud. My dad never missed a day's work ever in his life. And he instilled that strong work ethic in me that you don't get anything for free. You don't get handouts. You work for it.
Yep.
And so I had that work ethic. But, if I weren't in that relationship with Joe, though, I don't think that I would have fully relied on God. And my cousin Joni started taking the kids to church with her because she went faithfully every Sunday. So she knew that Joe and I had this rocky relationship. So she would stop and pick up the kids and take them to church. And then, of course, Joe was like, well, we've got Sundays free, so we're going to stay home together. So Joni would take the kids, Easter programs, Christmas programs, plays, whatever, I always attended. So then after that, that's 30. I was 30. So 6 years into our relationship, I became a Christian. Joe had not. So now we're kind of growing.
Yeah.
We were growing apart anyway.
Right.
But now we're really growing apart.
Yeah.
So then he starts coming to church. So we're a year into church together. So we decide we're getting married. Because he's now coming to church. He claims to be a Christian. And he tells me he's not using.
Yeah.
And the loving, forgiving person that I am was quite naive.
Yeah.
And I hate to say that in my mid-20s, a mother of 2, I was that naive. But I was. I had faith and wanted to believe him at face value that he was telling me, and not everybody loves you the way that you love them.
Right.
I was a convenience. I was a roof over his head.
Yep.
I was paying the bills
Yep.
so that he could live the lifestyle that he wanted to live. But because of all of that, it brought me to Christ.
Yeah.
As we were departing or separating, now, mind you, we stayed in this relationship for about 15 years. My kids were teenagers before we finally decided to completely separate, to break it off, that I had had enough. I couldn't do this anymore. And I felt like a failure.
Yeah.
I felt like, why couldn't I fix this?
Yeah, what did you do wrong?
Why couldn't I fix this? What did I do wrong?
Mhm.
I would take it to the altar and I would pray about it. And
You're like, why isn't it fixing?
One day God said to me, I give him his own free will.
Yeah.
You can't fix him.
Yep.
You have to lay him at this altar.
Mhm.
You have to put him at my feet.
Mm-hmm.
If anybody's going to fix him, it's going to be me, meaning Jesus,
Right.
Christ.
Not you.
me.
Not you.
So I quit picking up the baggage
Yep.
and carrying it back to the pew with me.
Mm-hmm.
And I left it there. And I started doing some Christian counseling.
Yeah.
And a Christian counselor said to me one time, how many times are you going to go around this mountain
Yeah.
without a change?
Mm-hmm.
She said, I know you want your children to have a dad. She said, put good men role models in their life.
Mm-hmm.
Your dad, your brother,
Right.
the Scouts leader, the FFA director.
Mm-hmm.
Put good men role models in their lives, and
Yeah.
your children will be as good
Yeah.
as the well parent.
Mm-hmm.
If you stay in this,
You're not going to be well.
you are already depressed.
Yep.
If you continue to stay in this and listen to the lies that he is telling you every day,
Yep.
because he was very verbally abusive.
Mm-hmm.
So he would tear me down every day,
Oh, yeah.
So if you continue to stay in this and listen to those lies, your children are going to be as sick as the both of you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If not worse.
So I had to realize that Jesus Christ was my Redeemer.
Yeah.
And at that time, what was the acronym FROG? Fully rely on God.
Oh, okay.
So I had to fully rely on God.
Yeah.
I learned to quit worrying.
Mm-hmm.
I no longer worry. What will be is going to be.
Yep.
Whatever Jesus Christ wants to happen in my life, as
Mhm.
long as I am living the way that I need to be living,
It'll happen.
it will happen.
Yep.
So I don't worry about that stuff anymore. But I know for years, I would quote the Serenity Prayer. What God, I had to take a picture of it because I thought when it comes up, I won't be able to say what it is exactly. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change.
Yes.
The courage to change the things I can,
Mm-hmm.
and the wisdom to know the difference.
Mm-hmm.
And the funny thing is to this day, Joe and I are not we're not divorced.
Mm-hmm.
I only ever planned to be married once.
Mm-hmm.
It was a one and done kind of thing.
Yeah.
I never,
That's how
I
yeah.
don't have a desire to be married a second time. And I have people say to me, well, why aren't you divorced? Honestly, I don't know. For years, because I felt like I was still a failure.
Mm-hmm.
But now I know that I didn't fail. I did everything in my power to make that relationship work.
Yeah.
And I know that I did not fail.
Yes.
Yeah.
But still, I'm still not divorced. He's went his way. I go my way. He doesn't, he doesn't bother me anymore like he used to.
Yeah.
So, but I fully rely on God now.
Yeah.
I know that, and without that relationship, who knows where I would be or how
Right.
I would
Mhm.
still be living my life.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah. Because then you had to press in.
Yes.
At that point.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And then right here, we're missing her, but Beth is another person who God has
Yes.
placed in my life.
Yeah.
She's
sure.
been there for me in the hard times. In that relationship, when my mom passed, she has always been there for me.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And I definitely think with Beth, like since first grade, you don't come by that often.
we have known each other for about 51 years.
Yeah. That's
Mhm.
amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I think
So-
we all end up in the valley of the shadow of death at one time or
Yeah.
another in our lives. And like you said, you kept going around the mountain.
Yes.
And some people, that's all they ever do.
Yeah.
They never quit going around the mountain.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
It's like
You
riding
know,
a merry,
they stay down in that valley
Mhm.
instead of getting
Right.
to the mountaintop. It's
And had that
just-
counselor not
can't-
put it in that perspective for me,
Yeah.
I probably still
Mhm.
would
Yeah.
be going around the mountain
Yep.
because he is still living that lifestyle.
Mm-hmm. And he
You know,
probably
I mean,
always will be. I mean,
he has
you
had-
want the best for him. But
Well, I do. I still pray for him.
Yeah.
He's the father of my
Exactly.
children.
Exactly.
And the grandfather to our grandchildren.
When people can't look at it that way, I don't understand.
No.
I just when
Yeah.
they're just so like the vengeance you can
Oh,
tell,
yeah.
and I'm like, that is the father of your children. I mean,
Right. Well, I mean, he used to wish me dead. I'd be walking out the door and he'd say to me, I hope a semi hits you on your way to
Yeah.
work.
Yeah.
okay.
Thanks.
Okay. Yeah, right. Thanks.
Yeah.
You know,
Right back at you. No,
right.
just kidding. Kidding, but not.
It's like, right? It's like, wow. Okay. You know, but verbally abusive. And then when the verbal abuse turned more towards my daughter as well. And I mean, so she had to put up with it for several years. But after that, it was like, no, enough's enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, you can verbally abuse me, but you're not going to verbally abuse our children.
Yeah.
And he never did our son, ever. It was
Was
always
it
a
kind of
female.
because
It was a female
you're just
thing.
like your mother type of thing?
No.
No?
No,
Okay.
just a female thing in general.
Okay.
I don't exactly know why.
Huh.
But she got the stubbornness of both of us.
Mm.
And when she got older, she put him in his place a time or two,
Good.
speaking the truth.
Yeah.
Never had to raise her voice. And she could make her dad cry
Good.
by
mean-
by speaking the truth, you know.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
so sad that he would say, you know, I'd take a bullet for you kids and for your mother. And she told him one time, she said, no, you wouldn't. You can't lay down your drugs.
Exactly.
You can't lay down your drugs for us. You're not going to
There's
take a
no
bullet
way.
for us.
Mm-mm.
Yep.
So, yeah. But, you know, I used to think, oh, what did I do? Why am I being punished? You know,
Mhm.
God's not punishing us.
Mm-mm.
He's preparing us,
Yeah.
you know. So, you know, trust in the plan, not our pain.
Yeah.
So, you know, and again, and then Pastor Michael too, you know, when he asked me to join the podcast, I'm like, that's out of my comfort zone. I don't have anything to say. Things don't come to me right away. I have to take little mental notes.
Yes.
So I don't forget what I wanted to say. But yeah, way out of my comfort zone. This
Yeah.
is not something I ever thought that I would sit down and do.
Well, that's how we grow.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I was
You don't wanna be
stagnant.
Yeah.
I was stagnant, and Satan liked me being stagnant.
Mhm.
And when Pastor Michael asked, Beth and I were back in the other room. Beth and I were
Yes.
sitting there, and he's like, hey, would the two of you like to join the podcast? And Beth speaks up and says, for the both of us, we'll think about it. And then she leaves and goes on vacation. And I came in early one day, and Pastor Michael's like, so did you think about it? I'm like, yeah, I think I'm going to do it. I need to get out of my comfort zone. I think I'm going to do it. He's like, well, what's Beth going to do then?
She's going to be there too.
I said, she'll be here. He's like, should I message
With
her on
bells and
vacation?
whistles.
Tell her that I know that we're joining?
Yeah, Satan knows how dangerous we are to his cause.
Mm-hmm.
So even you being in the situation you were in, you still had God in your heart, and his worst fear is
That's
that
right.
you're going to get out of that.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, and many times it's like he thinks, well, you know, I'll make it so she'll never get out of this.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
but
and
you
I
defied the odds to do that.
yeah, and I wasn't seeking godly wisdom.
Yeah.
I was going to work. I was working night shift, working with a bunch of women.
You were just trying to survive.
Yeah.
I mean, working 3
Yeah,
jobs.
and I would vent, and they would give me their advice.
Yep.
Of course, the advice was always, "Why don't you leave him?
Right.
Why are you still in this relationship?"
Yep.
You know. But I would listen to them instead of seeking
Yeah.
But
God's
Satan
word.
knew you were going to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why he worked all the harder to
Yeah.
Right.
just
Yes.
keep you going round and round. And
Yeah.
he thought, well, you'll just wear that path out, and
Yeah.
you know, but
When I think too, you know, and our son just got married, a year and a half ago, and he wanted his dad there. We had no idea even where he was half of the time to know if we would get him there or not.
Sounds like my life. Wow.
And his in-laws, you know, his future in-laws were like, well, your dad will be there. He's like, no, you don't understand.
Yeah.
He's an addict. Half the time we don't even know where he is.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know if he's alive or dead.
Did he want him there?
He did.
He did.
He did.
Okay.
So, of course, this mama did everything she could to track him down, which I was a pretty good detective back in my day.
I'm sure.
I found him, but it took me like 3 hours to get him in the car to come to the house to get ready to leave. And it was like, and when we got down there, my son said, if I'd have known, Mom, that it was so hard.
Such a hassle.
And he took drugs with him while we
Well,
were
and that's what I was
there.
going to ask. Were you guys worried how he would act up?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, that's
Absolutely.
how my
Are
wedding
we going to be
was.
embarrassed? Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. We lost him at Universal. He took off with, you know, because he was mad and didn't want to wait on the kids to ride a ride while we were there. And so I've got the 3 older grandchildren with me, and it was just an ordeal. It was a mess.
Yeah.
But he was there.
And then your son was probably like, I wish you wouldn't have been here.
That's what he said. Mom, if I'd have known he was causing this much trouble, you should have just left him at home. And I said, but I knew that you wanted him there. You wanted a complete family, just like Nicole had a complete family.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
So we made it work, but boy, was it a mess.
Yeah. Well, I think my person, like you said, with the family stuff, you can only say this person or that. But truly, like, with the amount of, I don't even want to call it trauma, but the amount of childhood things that my sister and I went through, courses, we'll call them, like, I don't have that relationship with Mallory, like, it's not even, we were talking about trauma bonding. Me and Nick were last week, and it's not even that with Shy. It's just like, yes, we have trauma bonded in the past, and maybe that many trauma bonds have made us who we are now. But I truly think even that, like, I think with all the stuff that I went through, like, my mom had terrible mental health issues. She still does, and that's what I was talking about with my wedding. And just, I mean, that's obviously my sister. We have the same mommy and dad. So, and someone told me one day, like, because I think it was to the point where I didn't realize, I'm like trying to do all these things for my mom, and maybe if I do this, it'll help her get better. Well, it's the same thing with drugs. If they don't want that help, they're not going to get that help. Nope. And I didn't realize that Shy had figured that out before me. So I was upset with her, and I was talking to someone. It was a counselor, and she's like, you don't want to break that bond between, that's something you guys have, you never even realized that you were building it up to what it is today, but that's what it is. Even, I mean, my stepsisters, they have a good relationship, but I don't think it's as tight as, me and my sisters. And like, yes, I'm the older sister, but she's, when she was doing like my maid of honor speech, when she was my maid of honor, like she was saying that I'm her therapist, her your best friend. But I'm like, truly, like, yes, I'm the older sister, but she is also my therapist. Right. Like when I left work yesterday, like I didn't call Chase. I called Shy, you know what I mean? Like, and told her about it. Cause I'm like, okay, I'm going to go home and tell Chase about it. But I want to tell someone now when I'm,
you're going to tell Chase face to face.
Exactly. Yeah. But I was just so excited, like when I left, and like she answered like, hey, how'd it go? Like she was almost waiting for that. Like you could tell. So I think she's definitely that person that, God kind of put into my life. Just, I mean, through all aspects of life. And, I'm 28. So, I mean, we've got hopefully a lot more to go, but, and it's just even like that with the different seasons in life, like seeing her become an aunt with Cooper. Like, yeah, we have Enoch and Dawson and Selah, which are my stepsister's kids, but it's a little different when it's number one, blood. And blood does not define anything. Oh, no, you know what I mean? Not. But I think with such a strong relationship and what me and Shy's is, it's just a little bit different with Cooper and her. So, but yeah, I'm just excited to see like her become a mom, because I know she wants to eventually, and having nieces and nephews and so on and so forth. So, yeah. Well, we have anything else?
Well,
I'm thankful for all the, I was going to say that there's no way I could put it down to one person.
I know. Right. And that's, when I read it, even when I read it last week, I'm like, I don't know if I can put it down to one person,
You picked it.
And for me, it doesn't even come down to just people that I know or have known in my life. It comes, for me, being young, when my mom got sick, it was like I was 13, just on the verge of, all of those things.
Yeah.
So I kind of felt like I was on my own, because my dad would have to go to work, come home, take care of her. So I didn't and being the middle child, I didn't get a lot of attention. So it's like I had to figure out a lot of stuff on my own really quick. And, my dad, there was no way that my dad was going to be, with all he was dealing with, he was not going to be able to
give you
help me with my own manhood,
right,
so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
He was just too busy, too concerned about my mom. Just had his own things to deal with that whole situation. So God just started just planting other seeds in my life to help me out.
Right.
And I just think of, just honestly, I know I always go back to history, but for me, that's really how it was. Like, in some ways, I was raised in my adolescence by men like Abraham Lincoln and Stonewall Jackson and Robert E. Lee and Ulysses S. Grant. They taught me so much about being a man and about how to go about things and deal with things, really difficult things, and just gave me such a perspective on growth and on life.
Yeah. Yeah, you're probably reading it like, oh, wow, I sound like a sissy now.
Well, I'm just saying, like, I didn't have, because even like my brother, he was a year and a half, 2 years older than me. And he was, in high school, and that's the point where you're really kind of at odds with your brother.
Yes.
So he wasn't like a guiding force in my life because he had his own things that he was focused on.
Yeah.
I didn't really have any close uncles. Both my grandfathers had passed before I was born. So I didn't have any, male role models in my life to grow from.
Yeah.
So I had to take it from. I was lucky enough, like I said, God planted those seeds in my life that I was able to learn about these people and take, their example of how they carried themselves and how they lived their lives. And I thought, this, that really helped me.
Yeah.
And it's some of the same values that I hold today as far as just hard work and always doing, everything you can to resolve a situation. Just a lot of those things about manhood that sometimes you learn from somebody close to you, a family relative. Well, I had to learn that kind of thing from another source.
And you still leerned it, though.
And I did. Yeah. And in some ways, I think I learned something even greater. Like I was able to look almost even farther into things than most adolescents my age knew, because I was really, reading into it.
You were able to kind of analyze yourself.
Yeah. So holding thing for me was like, I learned to hold myself to a standard a lot earlier in life.
Yeah.
Because when I was a teenager, I didn't run around. And I think with my mom being sick and my dad being distracted, I could have run wild being a teenager.
Absolutely.
I could have just ran wild. I could have done whatever I wanted to do. And because I had those seeds planted in my life and those examples follow, I didn't do those things. I was more focused on, I think the way that they lived their lives and how they carried themselves, that's how I want to be.
Yeah.
And so I focused more on that than finding some drinking buddies to run around with on Saturday night. I never experienced that.
Yeah.
And honestly, I didn't experience anything like that until I got divorced, and then I found myself doing all the things that I never did when I was young, that I would never do, that was totally out of character for me.
Right.
So in some ways, I did go through something like that, but at least I still had, those lessons to fall back on.
Yeah.
Or it probably would have been a lot worse.
Yeah.
This is what I think. It would have been a lot worse because I would have been a completely different person.
Yeah.
So I'm just very grateful for those people in my life, just for those examples, because I had a huge void in my life at a certain age. And, if I wouldn't have had that to turn to, I don't know where my focus would have been.
Well, like in my early 20s, I did my fair share drinking. We went to the bars and danced and did my fair share. And people said, when Joe and I get together, they're like, well, didn't you know he was an addict? And I'm like, well, I knew he smoked pot.
Yeah.
I said he was smoking pot. I was drinking.
Yeah.
I said, so to me that, was no different than going out and drinking. I said, but when we became pregnant, when I was pregnant, it was like, okay, this lifestyle has to change.
Right.
We're now adults. We're adults now. My lifestyle changed and his didn't. It just continued on. So we just did nothing but grow apart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think with you were saying, Nick, like, did people even tell you, like, your life could have, you could have went like wild but you never did. Like, did anyone ever tell you that based on kind of just like your teenage years? And
I don't know. I mean, my mom would just, because my mom would beat herself up a lot for not being there. And I'd be like, Mom, I completely understand. How could you be?
Yeah.
You were that ill. You were fighting for your life. How could you? And she just never forgave herself for not being there for me in my most, my important years.
Yeah.
Of, being a teenager and stuff. I don't know if anybody really ever pointed that out. I think it was more so that people would really point out the fact that, wow, for your age,
yeah,
you.
That's true.
I guess
you're
you're an old soul,
Mm-hmm.
or you're a lot more mature than most people your age. Because my first job was at the IGA grocery store down on Trenton Avenue, and before I was even out of high school, I was managing a department.
That's how I was at Maurice's.
So it's like I was already, thinking far ahead of people my age as far as taking on responsibility. Like I could see, those are some of the lessons I learned was I learned to take on a lot of responsibility, and like I said, I had to do that. Like, there's just a lot of things that I had to figure out for myself, very early when most, teenagers, they don't have to do that.
Well, and I think like even not theoretically, but I think that's just normally what happens anyway is not your way, but most of the time, like you said, you're like, heck, Dad was never home. He was always taking care of Mom. Like, yeah, you could have been going out and drinking and doing all the things.
I could have free reign to do whatever I want.
Yeah. But you chose not to. And someone said that to me. I think it's actually Chase's stepbrother, because he's known me since like 8th grade. And that's actually how I met Chase. And he's like, he never knew like as much about what I went through with my mom until I started dating Chase. And he said one day, he's like, man, Sid, like you could be using this like as a sob story. You could have been, just saying, well, my life is terrible because of this. And I'm like, but why?
Yeah.
And
you could be a victim.
Yeah.
Instead of a victor.
Right.
Yeah. And I'm like, okay. And I truly think though, like I never really pressed into that part, like about, feel bad for me, because like my dad was such a, not proud man. Like, I mean, yeah, he's proud, but he's very humble too, is the thing. And I think that was like just all of the hard work ethics like he instilled in me, like you said. Like I never wanted to feel, not that I was hiding it from people. Like if someone was going to ask me, I was going to tell them, anything they wanted to know. But like I'm not going to just tell my sob story because of it, I guess.
Woe is me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Yep.
Well, yeah. And like I said to my kids when I was raising them is, you see what this lifestyle does. See so I just always hope and pray that, because there were alcoholics on my mom's side of the family and addicts, and there were addicts on my dad's side of the family, and then their dad's side of the family. It was everywhere. Yeah. And I'm like.
And it is hereditary.
Right. Exactly. So, you pick up that first drink or you smoke that first joint, who knows what it might lead into.
Yeah.
So please just always be cognizant of that. Always keep that in your mind and just, and
and
beware.
I definitely had that going against me because a lot of my aunts and uncles, that's all they did was, it was drinking every night of the week. And they were great people, don't get me wrong.
Right.
But the opportunities were there for me to just
Yeah, you could have
right
you could have leaned on them during that time, and
and I think too, I am so grateful that my kids have a relationship with me, because as much as we went through with me trying to hold that family together, they could just despise me. Like, why did you put us through? Why did you put us through this?
Right.
My son has a hard time saying I love you. And I would say to him, can you never tell me that you love me? My selfishness. And he's, and he would just kind of like walk away from me.
He will.
So I went out to work one day, went out to leave for work, and there were flowers on the car with a card. So when he had left for school that morning, he had stuck these flowers in this card. And I'm like, okay, there's his way of telling me he loves me. He's not going to say it. And I've always said to Beth, I just don't understand why he can't tell me he loves me. And so she was at a wedding that he was at, his best friend's wedding, and they were all there together. And she's like, somehow we got talking on if we hit the lottery, what would be the first thing we would do?
Yeah.
She said, you know what your son said? Buying my mom a new house.
Yep.
Paying off the one she's in.
Yep. The first thing he said.
Like,
yeah.
First thing he said.
Yep.
I'm going to do for my mom.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's
right. She said, you raised your kids right.
Yeah, exactly.
Even though they are the people that they are because of what we went through.
I wanted to say, because Nick was talking about his brother in high school, and it reminded me, I'm like, well, I should have said with Shy, I've always thought she was annoying. I mean, it was up until my junior year. And, you start having classes with in gym or in art and with underclassmen. And there were a few freshmen in a couple of those different classes. And, I think we had an away football game and we were going to drive there. And my friends were like, we could take Shy, because I think Shy was asking to go. I'm like, no, they were like, Sid, just give her a chance. She is a freshman. I'm like, most people think, a freshman, blah, but I'm like, wow, yeah, I now have friends that are freshmen, I'm like, maybe I should give her a chance. And then, we go, I'm like, okay, I guess she's not that bad. So then that kind of just made me stop thinking of her as that annoying little sister, because she was. I mean, she would pinch me. She was the definition of that annoying sibling. I mean, if we got in trouble, it was automatically me.
Pick on her being older.
Yeah, I mean, I did, but for sure. I for sure did.
My brother just terrorized me until one day I had enough. And
yeah, she started chasing me around with a knife. At first she was joking around with it.
See, I always think when I hear people say that, because my brother and sister, I was the middle child as well. So my sister's older and my brother's the youngest. And we never fought. Yeah. Ever. We were just always so close. We never fought. We never feuded with each other.
Are there two of you?
No, there's only one Nick.
No. Don't be so sure.
3? How many brothers do you have? 2?
I got one brother and a younger sister.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there were 3 of you too?
3 of us. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say maybe it was just only having 2, and I should there's 5 altogether with my dad and stepmom, but like I said, with Shy, I was with her all day every day besides our classroom.
She's what, 4 years?
She's 2 years younger than me.
2 years younger.
Yeah, but I mean, because we would go with mom every Wednesday, every other weekend, every other holiday, all the things, or even we would spend the night at my grandparents, but Emily and Caitlin wouldn't go, and Mal was a baby. So, I mean, but I was with her all the time. So I don't know. I don't know. I think it was just finally.
My kids aren't that close, and I say to them all the time, you're all that you have.
Yes.
Each other is all that you have.
Yes.
When something happens to me or when you need somebody, the 2 of you have each other.
Yeah.
So.
And you've gone through the same things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. Okay. Hey, we almost made an hour, 57 minutes and 33 seconds.
Wow.
Ooh.
We can talk without the other.
Yeah. Dawn, would you like to pray us out? Let me see if I can get these.
Yeah, get the music on this time.
Oh, wait, I have to hit the button. That would be nice.
Is that the right button?
I don't know. We're going to find out.
Oh,
Here we
push
go.
it.
Dear precious Heavenly Father, we come to you, dear Lord, thanking you for this day. Thanking you again, Lord, that you give us this platform. Thank you that we can come in here and speak from our hearts, Lord Jesus. Lord, I just thank you that we do learn to rely on you.
Yes.
And again, Lord Jesus, I thank you that you were my Redeemer.
Yes.
And that I could fully rely on you, Lord. Lord God, I just pray that you take us all home safely and bring us back to our next appointed time. And all these things I ask and pray in your Son's most precious and holy name. Amen.
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 Hey friends, Pastor Michael again. If you've enjoyed this podcast, you should consider joining us on Sunday mornings. Our address is 1943 North Water Street Extension in Yorksville. We'd love to have you join us for an in-person service.